This is the Criterion Creeps podcast, and tonight we're talking about Children of Paradise from 1945, directed by Marcel Carne. The tagline for the film, "The Gone with the Wind of Art Films."
Ugh, that's so gross.
Oh my god. Where was that used? And then the synopsis for the film from Letterboxd. Filmed during the German occupation, this French milestone centers around the theatrical life of a beautiful courtesan and the four men who love her. Voted the best French film in history by the French Film Academy in 1990. This is a couple weeks in a row we've had these like real lackluster synopses of films where they're like, so here, this is what this movie's about, but here's some accolades so you really believe us that this movie's worth talking about.
Yeah, it's weird that they do that. It's also weird that this best French film of them ever would forget that movie, The Untouchables, that hit comedy about the caregiver and like his like thuggish guy from the streets.
Whoa.
That's the movie, Jarrett. I'm not stereotyping, but you know what? Maybe if they work together, they can learn something from one another. Do you see?
Yeah.
Do you see? Does Martyrs count as French, or is that French-Canadian?
It's got that French-Canadian money. Anyways, Children of
keep going.
Paradise. This was a first-time watch for me. Way back when, I did an interview with that Maurice Yakawar guy. He did some commentary tracks for Blood of Dracula and Flesh for Frankenstein Laserdiscs. And being a fellow Canadian, was polite enough to share some time with me way back when to talk about those. And at the time, I'd asked him what his favorite movie was, and he said Children of Paradise.
Did you ask him back?
What's that?
Did you ask him back?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's a long time ago, man. I'm not gonna, he's got busy things to do, being retired. So my copy of Children of Paradise, I got at a pawn shop for $5.
Wow.
And I've been, waiting for the time, and this was the time to finally watch it. One random thing I'll mention right now is that it's strange, kind of coincidence, that back-to-back films, 8.5 last week, Children of Paradise this week, we have Terry Gilliam introductions. And I find it kind of like amazing how articulate and succinct Terry Gilliam is when he's talking about films. Something that maybe we could work on this very podcast, but I'm sure we're not going to be doing that. Another thing, there's this weird echo chamber I noticed while like looking up this movie with this whole like the French Gone with the Wind, the Gone with the Wind done right. It's just like, it's such a strange talking point that like comes up time and time again whenever people talk about it. And I mean, it just speaks, I think, to like kind of general laziness when talking about movies, writing about movies. And here I am perpetuating the echoing by talking about it.
Maybe you're the real monster.
Maybe I'm the real monster. There's like other ones too, because it's like always like, hey, did you know this movie was made during Nazi occupation of France? Did you hear that this is considered the greatest French film ever made? Did you know that Francois Truffaut says that this is the one movie he wished he had directed?
Is any of that true?
It's all true, RJ. It's all true. So seeing that this movie clocked in at 190 minutes or whatever a week ago, I was definitely like, oh boy, here we go. And like, and you read what this movie's about, and you're like, oh boy, it's about like these four dudes looking for a chick, huh? 1945. This is going to be quite the chore. But hey, RJ, this movie's pretty great.
So are you saying that you think that this Maurice Yankowater was on the level?
Am I going to... Well, okay, I'm not going to say, this is like, my favorite movie, the best movie I've ever seen by any means. It seems like this movie definitely has its supporters in a particular age group. Like there's like, if the older you are, if this is like that movie you watch at a particular age, this is like kind of your movie. Watching this movie right now, like, here, in the 21st century. It doesn't feel like it's not cynical and weird in the way that like every movie is made now has this sort of vibe to it. It has this like French fatalism, this attitude toward life and such that is very French, which I guess maybe why this is perhaps the greatest French film ever made. I don't know what that means. But yeah, I thought this movie actually was like pretty awesome. And it's an easy watch. So
can you explain?
Yeah, so okay, the whole thing, so this movie's broken into two parts. And there's a decisive moment, right at an hour and 40 minutes where like the first part ends and then the second movie picks up, and it's like there's a time jump. So the reason this was done that way in production was apparently Nazis weren't fans of movies that were longer than 90 minutes. Hopefully that is the only thing I share in common with Nazis. But director Marcel Carne, so he was convinced though that Nazis wouldn't be occupying jack shit in the future, and so when the film came out, he would just release it the way he wanted to, as one film. And so he said, fuck it. And it turned out he was right. So he's a smart dude. So yeah, we got two parts in this movie. We got part one, the Boulevard of Criminals. This is a period piece film. I haven't mentioned that yet. Set 1828, gay Paris, and stars all my favorite kind of people. Thieves, rogues, murderers, prostitutes, actors, midgets, mimes, rag collectors. It's the whole gamut of great character types. And the movie plot is simple enough. It's a bunch of dudes who all want the same woman, and she doesn't know what she wants. We got ourselves Baptiste, the brilliant mime. We have Frederick, the schmoozer bozo actor. We have Lassaniere, my writer of letters, criminal mastermind schemer, my dude. We wind up with latecomer Count Edouard, and we have the lady herself, Garage. So she is this fine piece of tail that's got all these guys just like gunning for her. She starts off just kind of like working the Carne scene, probably sleeping with her fair share of people to get by in this life. And she starts, catching the eye of each of these dudes and working her way up the ranks.
Doing what?
Shagging these dudes, banging them. And so the first half sets up all these relationships and the world of theater, and all their kind of like sets up where they're going to like rise up in their respective fields. A big moment happens in the halfway point, I guess, where it kind of changes the whole trajectory of where everyone's life was going. And then we get a time jump where everyone is actually now at the top of their game, and their lives have moved on from one another. And now they all find themselves being brought back to one another again. And it ruins everything. Kind of.
Does it, though?
Does it?
Or are they the real monsters?
Indeed. So anyway, yeah, this movie, I would not expect that I would really, really like this movie. But I did actually find myself like really kind of under its... not gaze. It's like very effective filmmaking. Like everything about it, it's like very standard movie making, very classic, and it's very classical in its making. Everything plays out the exact way you would expect it to. But there's like these like the scenery in this movie, the backdrops, like these massive throngs of people moving around. And again, when you find out, oh yeah, this movie was made during the German occupation of France, and you're like, well, what does that mean? And it's like, well, they had to like do a lot of this stuff like under watchful eyes. They had like Jewish production designers that were working on this movie had to do it in secret, and like so like there's like these crazy things where it's like, oh, here's this like massive street with all these like thousands of people, but in fact, it's not that many people, but like they were building sets of buildings that were like angled in such a way so when they were shot on camera, it looked like it was like a full-size building, but it was like actually just like a little tiny little building. It was like a wall, and it's like all that sort of stuff. You're like, whoa, that gets really impressive, and the movie just draws you in. The camera, like for 1945, this camera like moves you through it. It's nothing like too showy. it's never like, wow, I'm like so blown away by any single moment of it, but it's just like so effortless. In some ways, arguably, that's like the best kind of filmmaking, where it's just like completely to the service of the storytelling. But it's like, but if you probably slow down and like went through the film bit by bit, you probably pick up on some like real great technique. But other than that, though, it's like, yeah, this is what the story is. Very simple, and really, really well told. I could go more into my thoughts about this movie, but hey, RJ,
why don't you? Oh, okay.
What do you think about this Children of Paradise?
Children of Men, as you advertised last week, was the movie that I watched. So I don't know what to do.
You're all about those one-shot takes earlier.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's not why I like that movie. But anyways, I'm actually surprised that you liked this movie. I didn't think you would, because this ticks a lot of boxes that are no-nos for the Jarrett. It has romance. It has a strong female protagonist, which you do not like.
You want to go there, huh?
No, I didn't think you would like this, because it's like it's kind of like melodrama, which, well, actually, you know, Written on the Wind and stuff like that, you actually kind of like that movie, right? And All That Heaven Allows. Mm-hmm. But you dislike other movies in similar genres, like Summertime. Summertime is our
Great
go-to.
Expectations.
Great Expectations, Summertime, movies like that. So I didn't think you would like this, so I'm a little bit surprised. I think this movie is pretty cool. I think the technical aspects are very nice. I think there was the production and the camera and all of the things put into this movie are wicked good. The story I was okay with for the most part. I thought it was almost a little bit too kind of here and there at times, and I'll explain what I mean by that. But no, I liked Children of Paradise. I think so I watched this on Canopy, actually, and they had it broken up into two parts.
Yeah.
So is the main movie, is there an intermission where they kind of say what's happened?
So on my DVD, it's actually 2 discs, and it's like part 1 is on the 1 disc, and it just sort of like, it just goes like, it just fades out with a curtain, because the movie opens up with curtain open, and then it ends with a curtain call, and then the curtain opens up and it has like a whole like new intro, like with the credits and stuff like that.
At part 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's how it is on Canopy too. Is like part 2 starts with like a credit and a recap of what's happened so far. Okay, good. So I actually thought the first hour of this was kind of like, I wasn't super into it, but so part 1 didn't totally hook me, but I actually thought part 2 was pretty good. For part 2, I think it's like an hour and a half. That flew by pretty fast for me. So I was like, oh, that's pretty nice for this 3 and whatever hour long movie, that the back end actually picked up steam for me more than the front of it. Okay, things about this movie. The production. The production in this movie is pretty spectacular. I was reminded a lot of Gangs of New York. All the very tall top hats, all the the coats with the tails, the canes, walking on like cobblestones and things like that. I was like, oh yeah. I bet old Martin saw this movie once. Or, you know, that's just what people wore at that time. Also possible.
Same period of time.
Same period of time. Yeah. So that's, you mentioned the camera work, not being showy, but it does it moves around in a way where it feels natural, like you're the camera kind of, and that's going to sound like really dumb and like lame, but it does kind of put you into the role of the camera, where you kind of move around to where you need to be. And it doesn't feel like it's like, oh, here's this scene, here's that scene, set up the camera. So I like that. The technical stuff, I'm sure there's way more to it than I have looked into or that I can take at face value. But there were a lot of scenes that I thought were super cool. I really like the crowd scenes. I like all the theater scenes. I think are really well done. Especially with the big crowds in the theaters. I thought all of that was awesome, where they just show the mass of people just crowding into the stands. I think that is really well done. I also liked some of the stage shows. So there's the one that I think is like a real standout, and I think it's actually in the first part, where he like the pantomime. What's his name again?
Baptiste.
Baptiste. Yeah, Baptiste. He goes into the middle of the stage, and then he like walks on spot, and then the stage and the set behind him move, kind of like a scrolling set, and so he's just walking on spot, and the set behind him is moving. I thought that was really cool. I'm sure that's something that they actually did in theater, but I don't go to the theater, Jarrett.
No, me neither.
I don't like being with other people. So yeah, I thought that was super cool, and I liked it quite a bit. So there's like a lot of technical stuff that I think is really cool. And one other thing about this movie is it's pretty sharp, man. Like the dialogue is pretty spot on. Like it's pretty witty, and it's pretty well crafted. Where there's a lot of like there's just a lot of one-liners. One that I had written down was when she's getting questioned by the police. She says, "What do you?" Or they go, "What do you call yourself?" And she says, "Nothing. I'm always here." And it's like stuff like that. I didn't write down any of the others, but it's a lot of lines like that are just very.
The one line that comes to mind is, "Shut up, we can't hear the mime."
That's pretty funny. So it's a very well crafted, fine artisan screenplay with the dialogue, I think, and I like the story mostly. There's just a few things where at times I was like, I think it's too much that all of these guys are so in love with this woman. Not that it doesn't happen. Yeah, I'm sure that happens sometimes. But like there were some guys, like I think the thug character, I think for him especially, I was like, I don't really see the need for him other than to create conflict.
Are you talking about Lesenier?
Yeah.
See, I don't know if he's super into her because he's pretty over it. Like, right, he's like more like offended.
He doesn't like at the bar. He's just like, oh, whatever, I don't care. And he even says he's like, I'm not gonna let a woman get in my way. But he is like so I guess it's like maybe a way to introduce him. But at the same time, I felt like they were trying to like not overtly and it's not like really pressed on you that he is still in the mix somehow because he's not.
No.
But it was just I don't know the presentation of that. I guess I didn't feel it was totally needed, like especially for how long this is. But I guess, I mean, he is the source of conflict between him. He's the chaotic evil, and then the Count is the chaotic good.
Well, he's the Iago, right? Kind of. Like, yeah. That's kind of his role.
His thing.
Yeah, because he's like, he wants to be like, I don't know. He relishes in like, he wants to be known as like the smartest for something. He wants to be famous for something. Mm-hmm. And like he's like, oh, he's a really great writer. And so he writes like for all the illiterate people when they need things done because he can just do it. But those people he writes for, they're just like, oh, you're pretty good. Like they like thanks for doing me a favor, but they don't appreciate his ability. Mm-hmm. And he just found it easier in his life to become like a criminal and get all the things that he wanted, but he never gets any appreciation for it because you have to, when you're a criminal, you have to get away with it because otherwise you get caught. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, for me, like that, he's like kind of like the most interesting character, and I love kind of like how the payoff to his arc is that like he does like the best, like I guess he kills somebody, but like he like kind of takes it and he's like, yeah, fuck, I might as well like go down for something worthwhile and I'll become famous, because he's also based on like a real life character, like a real life person.
Do you mean Shakespeare?
Yeah, all people are based on Shakespeare, even when they're
well, he was a thug, wasn't he?
Yes, thugs. So yeah, I found that his like character is like always fascinating because like at the first part, like he's like his agency is like, oh, he's just sort of this guy who's like running the thievery out of his like shop and stuff like that. He's got all these side angles he's going, and you're like, oh, he's like the bad guy. And then like, well, there's no real bad guys. He's just sort of like this third wheel in the trajectory. And then you wind up with the Count, who like is probably the more menacing figure, because it's like, oh, he'll just like challenge you to a duel and then he'll just kill you legally, and because he's like so like hideously jealous. And so I find like there's like he kind of trumps everybody, and then it's like you get the heroic kind of end, I guess, of he gets dispatched with, and then he does the right thing and saves some lives.
I did think the dueling stuff was pretty funny. It reminded me a little bit of Barry Lyndon. Some of the stuff that they were doing in the like obviously the dueling, but some of the other ways that the characters kind of talk to each other. But yeah, that's a good point. I didn't totally see that. So I guess that's why you're around here, is to point out things like that. But no, yeah, like I admire a lot of the stuff that the movie does. And I think it's a really good movie. It didn't totally land for me, but I was, especially in the back half of this movie, I was totally entertained watching it, and I can admire some of the stuff that they were doing. Here's some stuff that I liked in this movie, Jarrett. At the opening, you are given a demonstration of that girl's beauty, and there's a line where the people say, "When you see her, she will haunt your dreams." I thought that was really funny. And then you're introduced to a nice guy, a 2018 nice guy, which is the competing actor, when he's going around to women and he's like, "Ooh, you smiled. I saw you. That means you're interested in me."
I don't know if I call him a nice guy, because he actually is successful, and like,
he gets successful.
Yeah, because he never takes he works through the no, and then he doesn't turn down an opportunity, because he's like he's super charismatic, I guess, like is the way they play that character, which is like the opposite of like the nice guy, who is like by their nature uncharismatic due to the fact that they're so desperate, and they think they are owed it, rather than like, well, some things come and go, move on to the next one. Usually they pine over the same one until they get her. I would say that. Yeah, I don't know if that would be a fair description of him.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I did like his Deadpool theater, though, when he was breaking the fourth wall and talking to the audience.
Right.
Were you on board with that? Did that remind you of Ryan Reynolds?
I'll have to bow down to your knowledge on that one.
Oh, okay. I thought it was really. I thought the police statement was super helpful from the mime, and I like that he took it as fact.
Oh man, how about that miming though in this thing?
That miming is pretty spectacular.
No,
that guy's got great physical comedy. I'll say this, and then I'll let you take over for the miming. I like when he gets thrown out the window, and then he just comes in and brushes off the dust. It was kind of like Chaplin-y, little Buster Keaton.
It's very like his facials are very like his face. A lot of the time, I was thinking about Buster Keaton.
Yeah, he's great in that. But anyways, you were going to talk about miming.
Yeah, so I mean, if you were to ask me like a week ago, I'd be like, "Oh, fucking mimes, fuck miming, it's stupid." And it's like, are the French into mimes? And it's like, yep, some are, and but this is some high quality miming. I think this guy like made it look really good, and it was like really well done, and like I was following along, and it was like his body language shifting between a woman to the fat guy to the mustache twirling. It was like all really really well done, and I'm like, oh, this is really good. And then when he started getting into the theatrical stuff and like his Perot and stuff like that, or like him asking for a rope so he can hang himself, pretty good.
Yeah, I like that too. You're gonna cough, so I'm just gonna talk for a while. He has great like physical comedy and like his own body in space. I think he's pretty good. He seems like he maybe did some real acting before he was in this movie, so that's pretty cool. Maybe a little bit. I think there was one thing that was really funny in the intermission. When they're describing what happens and they're talking about Baptiste missing his chance. And this is a quote, Jarrett. He misses the chance to conquer her. I thought that was really funny. And then we get some grabbing some ass and some tits by the other actor. He's got two babes going on at the same time. That's pretty funny. And then there were some lines in this movie that I actually liked a lot. There was one, I can't remember who said it, but they're talking to, I think, the main girl, and they say that you dream out loud, because they're talking about how she like talks in her sleep and she says Baptiste's name or something. But I just kind of like the way that they phrase that. They're like, you dream out loud. It's like, oh, what What a nice way to describe life. And then your boy actually has some of my favorite lines. The really greasy guy with the hair.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking and he's like, "This Mr. Shakespeare." He's like talking about like he's like, "Yeah, that guy's not all that people think." And he goes, "This Mr. Shakespeare." Thought that was funny. And actually, I don't know if he said this, but someone's talking and they go comedy, tragedy. It's no different. It's like same old stuff. It's like everyone wants the funny. I think it is him. He's like everyone wants the funny stuff, but that's not what I write. And he's like comedy, tragedy. It's no different. And it's like, oh, what a nice little metaphor for like movies in general and the stories that we tell each other, Jarrett.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, I think Children of Paradise is a very cool movie. I can see why it would be some people's favorite movie, like Maurice Yankowar. I can see why it would be his favorite movie. It's definitely has pretty great technical merit. And it's a very well put together movie.
Well, I think it's also very simply told. Like it's like it has this like kind of I guess elegant structure. Like it's kind of like Charles Dickens ish.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's this like these people kind of like in the prime of their life, kind of like when they're just about to get ready to get going with the rest of their days, and then they all kind of like get sidetracked by one another, and then you get the before sunset, before sunrise time jump to like when they meet up again. And then things go all haywire because he's like, well, Baptiste, he got married. He's got like the like ridiculously like lawfully like dotting wife who will like accept him no matter what, and you could debate whether or not she gets kind of what she deserves for being that type of person, like for all your loyalty. It's like, well, this is what he's going to do because he's like, this is a bad fit. He gets messed up by her, and she's like, well, that's just what it'll be, and you so it's like, I don't know, it's kind of weird because you're like, oh man, what a cad, but at the same time it's like kind of like trying to change somebody's behavior or change their like view. It's just like, it's kind of a tough thing to do, to expect that. And so
I could do it.
You could do that, pull it off.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And his little moppet of a son coming along.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I like that guy. That's what's his name? Anyways, doesn't matter. Hey, what do you think about Baptiste's wife and child and their role that they play in this movie?
On the whole,
yeah.
I mean, they kind of play hapless sort of supporting characters to the bigger thing, right? Because it's like I was just saying with her, she kind of like, she keeps like, I'm going to be very dutiful and things are going to work out great, right? They're just going to be, I deserve this if I do this, everything right. And I just keep smiling and he'll come back to me. Don't worry. And it's like, she completely misreads it. Like, that's like, we know that, like, well, maybe he'll do the right thing, but he's not. Like, we've seen every time that Garage comes along, he just falls apart every single time. So I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know. There's like this. There's like a tragedy in that character, I suppose. Because
kind of like the story of Jarrett.
Like the story of Jarrett. But so you have that. Yeah. Again, kind of going back to Baptiste and the actor who played that character. He's great. We talked about the miming. His like facials and stuff like that. Like, he's wonderful to watch. I think he like also helped that playing, because he's also playing a famous actor who was like famous for playing Perot in this window of time.
He is?
Yes. Yeah, this is all like kind of loosely based on real life people, at least in terms of like Lassenier and Baptiste. Like, it's like one of like the big legendary mimes, and this like particular character. I kind of like was watching this and I was like, oh yeah, there's like that Kenneth Anger Rabbit's Moon short film that's like all about like Perot trying to like reach the moon, and it's like this impossible goal, and but he's an absurd mime character, so it's like supposed to be hilarious. It's like, oh, he can never reach the moon, and so Garage is kind of his moon. It's like this impossible thing that he can't obtain, and he has to see it from afar, and like that's like an ongoing thing being referenced in those performances. It's kind of like these little backdrop things, little pieces of character development as they're playing it out, but it's not obvious because I think some of those allusions are like, I think if you're, I guess I would say like if you are more literate, like maybe in 1945 you would pick up on this stuff, but for like a contemporary audience, that stuff is just like, oh, he's a clown. Like, he's a mime, whatever. And it's like the story will tell you what you need to know. But like, there's like that added detail. You're like, oh, you can appreciate these like literary devices that are being deployed, even though time kind of separates it from us. Unless you just happen to know this stuff by coming across it via other methods. Because I know you're a big Kenneth Anger fan, right?
Kenneth Anger?
Yeah, big fan.
What do you mean by Kenneth Anger? I don't think I'm familiar.
That's a name of a director, of a guy. Made things like Lucifer Rising and stuff like that. And he has a film called Rabbit's Moon.
Jarrett, you're losing a lot of people on this right now. Rabbit's Moon or Rabbids Moon?
Rabbits, as in the carrot.
That doesn't seem real. Okay,
Yeah.
it's not real.
But that's like a reference to like this Perrault character that like dates back to like the 1700s and 1800s, that all these people would play this mime. And there's a Godard movie, Perrault le Fou and stuff like that. It's all part of the same little family of tradition of such and such. You dig?
I don't,
Okay.
but I'm gonna
fine.
let you finish anyways.
So yeah.
Hey, what else do you like about this movie?
So what do you think of Frederic the performance? Do you feel the bit of acting you saw of him as Othello blacking up? Do you think he was like one of the greatest actors of his era?
Not when he was blacked up.
Well, I mean, but seeing past that affectation of blacking up, because it was a character playing a character in 1835 or something like that. I don't know. It's like kind of like I think this guy's actually not that good an actor. Like as an actor with playing an actor, like I don't think it lives up to that. It's just kind of clunky or whatever. Not as good as what we're being told. But that's neither here nor there.
It is neither here nor there, and frankly, I'm done with you.
Fine.
And this, no, he's fine. I thought his where he goes off on the theater was a little obnoxious, but whatever. Who am I to say?
To each their own.
Yeah. What about you? What do you? Hey, you ever done any screen acting, Jarrett?
Screen acting, like when I've been forced to for like projects and stuff.
And how did you fare?
Probably not well.
Not well?
No. But I would not. I would never declare myself an actor.
Why not?
Because that would be an insult to people who do this professionally.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, what else do you think about this movie? Because you seem to like it quite a bit. What are some cool things that I missed?
So Count Edward, he's the evil count.
Oh, okay.
The money man with his rocking the Jerry Lawler hair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's just I don't know. He's like the worst kind of human being in a lot of ways. He is. He can buy everything, and when he doesn't like something, he wants to kill it. And that's how he lives his life. He's like, he's the worst. And so when he dies, it's like, hooray, he's dead. I don't know, his arc. And then I guess then I don't know if we've given a lot of chat to Garance, the lady, the chaste woman. Perhaps the actress, was it Epaulette or something like that? She maybe is a little too on the older side to be playing this like this hot to trot woman that like everyone's chasing after. But I think her performance though and like kind of presence though makes up for that.
Yeah, she's got pretty good presence. But while I was watching it, I did find it a little hard to. Well, I mean, I'm not lusting after her, but that doesn't mean that 4 other guys aren't.
Yeah,
they very well could be. I don't know. Who am I to say? Who are either of us to say? People don't find us attractive, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, most people don't, but or do they? Email in if you find either me or Jarrett attractive. Mostly me though. Just let me know.
Or Letty. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, what's up with that? Is she like a Madonna type deal? Is that why?
I guess so.
Okay, that's fine. You should go buy a one-name monster.
And this is the only movie of hers that I've seen.
Was she even in other movies?
Yeah, like 40 other movies. But Pierre Brasseur Frederick. He's in a whole bunch of future creeps. He's in that Eyes Without a Face. He's in another Marcel Carne movie that's coming down the pike.
Isn't he in Dumb and Dumber?
No, he's not.
Dumb and Dumber 2? Dumb and Dumberer?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I don't know. I feel like the quality of this movie, RJ, is self-evident.
This is a fine, fresh-baked artisan film.
Yeah.
We can both agree on that.
I mean, it's like one of those big kind of produced movies that like works really well. Like all the factors are there. This is the sort of movie that your French New Wave in its infancy. This was the sort of movies that it would reject as being too stodgy and not direct enough, not like getting to the core of things. And maybe in some other movies I would agree on that front, but I think here this movie is just like I don't know. It's a real pleasure to watch this movie. I don't know, and I don't know. I don't know if I'd be like, this is the greatest French film ever made. That's absurd, and people always say things like that. I don't know what would be. I don't know if either of us would be saying that it should be the 400 Blows either. But
I think we can all agree that the 400 Blows is not
the greatest
a good
French
movie.
Well, it's definitely not the greatest French film ever made.
No,
but
no,
RJ,
no.
I wonder
What?
Who hates Children of Paradise?
Hey, do you think that The Artist is the greatest French film ever made?
No.
Okay, wait, before we get to who hates this movie, let me give you a couple more. Do you think that Jules and Jim is the greatest French film ever made?
I like that movie quite a bit. And I've known some people who really like French movies that don't really like that movie very much, or think it's
bizarre.
or they think it's just okay. But I mean, like I think my first time watching that movie, I was completely blown away watching that.
What about Raw and Blue is the Warmest Color? New French. Okay, here's a real one for you. What about A Trip to the Moon by Georges Millet?
Wow. I don't know, RJ.
Okay, it was actually pretty hard to just when I Googled French movies, that's all that came up. So
that's it, huh?
That's it. Yeah, tell me about people who hate Children of Paradise.
Millie.
Okay.
1.5 stars. 4 different dudes hit on one woman for 3 hours 15 minutes.
I mean, it's a pretty accurate description.
Is it though?
Is it? Mimi Millie, a big Wes Anderson fan. What do you guess their 2 favorite Wes Andersons are? The answers might surprise you.
Darjeeling Limited.
Fantastic Mr. Fox and Moonrise Kingdom.
Boo.
They also like Vertigo and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. They've also been watching a lot of Criterions. They just watched Ordette. They just gave Le Tra 5 stars. They might even be listening to this very pod, Jarrett.
No.
Yeah, if they just watched Le Tra. M 5 stars. Sunset Boulevard. But here's the real kicker, Jarrett. Your new favorite movie, Hereditary, 5 stars.
Wow.
Avengers of Infinity War, 5 stars. Shape of Water, 3 billboards. Last Jedi, all 5-star films.
Knox Gray, 2 stars. It felt overlong. I didn't care about the characters, and the visuals are only truly interesting when they are depicting theater.
It felt overlong? No, it's overlong or it's not. Come on. Knox Gray likes Paris, Texas. The Devil's Backbone, a movie called Chaser. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's a South Korean movie.
They don't have a lot of ratings other than 5 stars. So I don't know if we can trust their opinion. But they did give Mandy 5 stars.
Ugh. And I think this is a repeat. Hannah Kay.
Yeah, maybe.
2 stars. Children of Paradise is split into 2 distinct halves, and sadly, they are not equally good. The first half is fascinating, charming, and original, while the second half devolves into a very traditional story of tragic and lost love that undoes everything good set up by the first half. I found myself strongly disliking my favorite characters more and more as I watched the second act. Extremely disappointing after I watched the first half, extremely disappointing after I enjoyed the first half so much. And I've actually seen a few people talk about how much they really love the first half, which is
weird.
Contrary to you.
Yeah, that's super weird. I don't know why people like the first half. I thought the second half was better. Do you have an opinion at all?
I liked both the same. I thought I enjoyed it all the way through.
Yeah. So I think Haneke has been on the show before. She likes Casablanca, Annie Hall, Moulin Rouge, Love Actually. They just watched Autumn Sonata. They gave it 4 stars. They just watched Qui-Gon and gave it 4 stars. Here's the good thing, though. So they might be a fan of the show, too. Qui-Gon, Cleo from 5 to 7, Autumn Sonata. They're watching a lot of these. Haneke just watched Call Me By Your Name and gave it the same rating I did, 2.5 stars. You can read about my review on why I think that's a 2.5 star movie. Hannah also gave Holes 5 stars. I kind of agree. Holes is a good movie. Jarrett's favorite movie, Chicago, 5.5 stars.
5.5 stars.
Yep, they hacked Letterboxd. They gave it 5.5.
Well, yeah, everyone gets one 5.5 star review. Yep. I don't know if you knew that.
And everybody gives it to Chicago. 5 stars to Shrek. That's pretty cool.
Wow.
Hey, listen to me. I'm talking about Shrek over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on board with a lot of Haneke's ratings, but what did they rate this movie? 2? That's a little unfair.
Great.
It's a little unfair. You got any other brain busters for me?
No, that's it.
Okay.
No, it's interesting though. It seems like the only people who are watching Children of Paradise these days are Criterion people.
Criterion people. You're absolutely right, Jarrett.
No,
I was gonna say it, and you beat me to it.
Yeah, that's yeah, I'm not sure who the audience for this type of movie is anymore.
Us?
Like us, like people who have to watch these movies in order, or people who are like checking movies off of lists of like 100 best films you should watch before you die. Like that's who this movie appeals to, or is like kind of told to. It feels like an instructional thing. And then when people see 190 minutes, they're like, I'll pass. And that's what I was doing for a really long time. But I think this movie is like just like a really well told movie of this type of story. Whether or not it's like, is it a like Sweet Smell of Success or something like that, where it's like this like gritty, like incredibly well made, well written, great memorable characters beyond belief that like everyone should watch. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it is anymore. But I'd be like, this movie's really good for like this window of time. It's like, yeah, this movie, I mean, I'd watch this before I'd watch Gone with the Wind again. Like, yep. For sure.
Hey, I mean, for me, Jer, for me personally, my opinion, I might not have like loved it, but I'm not too much of an asshole that I can't admit that this is a pretty good movie. Like, it's really well made. like, does that make sense? Like, I enjoyed it. I didn't really like love it or anything like that. I won't think of it that much anymore, but I can see why other people like it. And I don't think it's bad. It's not like other movies like 400 Blows or Salo where I'm just like, I don't really get it. But I get this. I see why people like it. I get it. It's like the Dave Navarro of movies.
I guess it makes me think about kind of like bigger picture ways of how we view things that we consume, I guess. So
how do you consume?
I don't know. I don't know how I consume things anymore. But I'm like thinking about the way you're talking about this movie, and it's like, so you say this is like a 4-star movie, but it's kind of like, I don't know, I wouldn't ever think about it again. It's like, what? It's like 4 stars to me is like that's got to be a pretty good movie. But are we measuring it in terms of like other Criterion films?
So here's the thing. Yeah. Jared. We often conflict on ratings for movies. I feel that I mostly try to rate objectively, where I think this is a 4-star movie. Where if other people are like, should I watch Children of Paradise? And I'll be like, yeah, it's a pretty good movie. You might get more out of it than I did. I think it's a 4-star show. if I was rating it for my own thing, I would maybe give it a 3-star. But I feel like it's better than that, even though that's all that I liked it. So I think it's difficult to put labels on these things. And I know some people do the hearts or the not hearts. It's like whether you like it or not. But I also don't think that's fair, because sometimes it's like, yeah, I liked it or I didn't like it, but this is what it's actually rated. I don't know. I think it's difficult to say, Jarrett. I think it's difficult to say.
I don't know if it's difficult to say.
Hey, you've dabbled between rating things and not rating things.
Yeah, because I feel like it's I don't know what movies does that what does rating movies actually benefit? Like, who does that actually benefit? It's kind of like how Amazon sends like these emails after you buy a product from them saying, "Hey, spare a moment to review this product," and you're just like, why? And it's like, because it's like it'll help us sell more things and build like an aggregate to tell people how to purchase things. And so there's always that element that's like weird with Letterboxd. Like, at the end of the day, you don't know where that information is going to go or where it's going to get used. And like, because one day Letterboxd will just be like, hey, we're going to sell our assets to Paramount. And now they own it, and then, or like whatever parent company has it, they now own all the reviews, the rating information, the demographic, because you always tell them what year you were born, your age. They can probably start deciphering where you're watching movies, how you're watching movies, how often you're watching movies. And it's like that weird thing where it's like, this is like a fun hobby using Letterboxd, and it's great for cinephiles because movie people really like keeping lists and like sharing information and finding about movies. So it's always like a weird thing about like rating a movie. And it's like, what does that mean? Or how we talk about it even, and then how there's a point in time where we would talk about a movie in a particular type of way. But now, because like we're kind of programmed to like rate movies into like these sort of like products, and like I wouldn't consider this a great film, but I think other people would enjoy it. And it's just like, why do we talk like that? It's really strange, because it's like,
well, do you would you rather I just be like, yeah, this movie's fine, but I didn't take much out of it?
Well, it's just like I guess it's just a bigger conversation, I guess, as far as like how
this is a bigger conversation,
right? But I mean, beyond like a podcast.
Oh, are you talking about like woke stuff?
No, I'm just talking about like how the conversation around movies proceeds, like how Twitter's used and stuff like that, and like
Hey,
the rush to like talk about movies as quickly as possible, and like
yeah, I don't like that. But hey, you get the world that you deserve.
No, you don't. You kind of just get the world that you're born into, and then it's what it is. And then you can like decide to like engage with it as much as you want, I suppose. But the world kind of will march along with or without you.
I mean, if you want to,
yeah,
you can.
Yeah,
but I don't know, man. We're all just trying to be. That's it.
Allegedly. Anyways,
allegedly, yeah.
That was a tangent.
I think you're kind of a tangent.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So yeah,
not in a bad way. It's just, you know.
Children of Paradise, a worthy viewing.
I think other people would enjoy this movie.
Here you go.
Did I enjoy it? Mostly. Sure.
What does that mean?
Sure. Do you know what that means, Jarrett? It means that I enjoyed it mostly.
Well, but that qualifier actually sounds more negative and backhanded.
I think you're kind of negative and backhanded. Have you ever thought about that?
After the break, RJ's going to get drowned in a bathtub.
A better men have tried.
Then I'm getting the guillotine, and I'm okay with that because it was worth it.
Hey, do whatever you want to do.